Good afternoon. My name is Scott Forcino. I'm an associate broker with eXp Realty out of Metro New York, the suburbs and the city. I have with me today Kevyn Wagner, who is a mortgage professional with Ideal Lending out of Jupiter, Florida, one of my favorite places, and it's a great vacation spot and a great bunch of friendly people who are active in the real estate community. So good afternoon, Kevyn. Thanks for being here.
Good afternoon, Scott. How are you?
I'm excited because there's so much going on in the market, and we are enjoying some nice spell of great weather here. So tell me how the changes from 2021 to 2022 are with your lending in the real estate market.
Well, there's been a tremendous slowdown, obviously, in the real estate market, which ultimately affects what we do from the mortgage side of things. I think we're off probably from the refi side about 80%, year over year. And that's, obviously to be expected with rates going from 2.5 up to, 5.5 approaching 6. But the purchase market's been off about 30 to 40% year over year. And that's a big drop. That's a huge drop. And so that's on a national level. What we're seeing here in the local market in Jupiter is that the cash buyers are starting to retract a little bit. So there's some, folks, professionals that I deal with on a daily basis. They kind of track all that stuff. And, we used to be almost 55, 58% cash buyers, and we're moving away from that again, back into a more conventional or FHA type market. So the nice part about the change for the market, and I'm actually rooting, for the change, and why, Kevin, why would you do that, right? Because I have such a pipeline of borrowers that are pre-approved, pre-qualified, ready to go, but they're in that FHA 300,000 to 400,000, price range, which is really the sweet spot. For first-time buyers, used to be a lot lower, but that's what the market is now. They didn't stand a chance in, the early part of this year, and obviously pretty much all of last year. Everything was cash, or people coming in above asking price, no inspections, no appraisals,
multiple offers.
Yeah, it was foolish. Why would you do that? And then all these people are going to be now kicking themselves. So now my buyers have a chance, right? And that's what the realtor is saying. I can see by looking at the information, that we're getting a lot of price reductions. We're getting a lot of days on market have really, really increased. And I kind of service pretty much the whole state of Florida, but concentration is Palm Beach County, Broward, Martin, St. Lucie, down around there. But prices are a lagging indicator, right? So we're not seeing prices come down. That's why the realtor is like, well, yeah, business is slow and sales are off, but prices are still going up. But when you compare, and the reason I bring this up is they use year over year data, which really isn't a very reliable source, considering this market, if you go back and you look at graphically where it is, it peaked in May and June. So all of last year and then all this year up to June, sales were great, sales were high. But then we say, well, I want to compare it to, what it was in June of last year. That doesn't matter. It's a completely different market at this point. So when we start to look at month over month, that's where we see the price changes. But the point of this is that we will begin to see these prices come down. Some people are saying 18 to 20%. Some people think more. The reality is that nobody knows for sure, right? If you look at articles from economists, from, people that are professionals in their own field, you could have one guy saying one thing 1 week, and then he says something else completely different, 2-3 weeks later. So who knows? Obviously it has to adjust, but I'm rooting for it to adjust.
And even with an economist, that's such a macro situation compared to knowing the realtors that either know or should know their respective markets. What's going, what's the asking prices, and even, who's buying, what group do they see is buying? Is it first-time buyers? Is it retirees? So, there's some places in Florida that are very much, snowbirds or empty nesters versus where real people live. So you can't talk. I mean, to me, it's silly to talk such a broad stroke like that.
Right. And I follow a lot of these guys on YouTube. So more and more of these realtors are, starting to put YouTube channels out and starting to show, the data on a weekly or monthly basis. And so I learn a lot from these guys, and I've become kind of obsessed with, watching the data, watching the YouTube, watching the realtors, seeing what they post. And I mean, the trend is obvious, which way it's going to go. And so I'm kind of excited, I really am. So, I want to get my first time buyers back in. I've been doing this since 1995 is when I got licensed. And I remember for the first couple of years, like all my loans were like 80,000, 75,000, something like that. I was over the moon when I got my first mortgage that was $100,000 plus,
Wow.
and it's sad now because like these first time buyers, especially like teachers and things, you used to be able to get them into a nice townhouse or something for 80,000, 75,000. And, those days are gone. And I would tell them, look, think of this. It's your first home. You're not going to live here forever, but it's something that you're going to buy. And then, years down the road, whatever it is, 3-5 years, you're ready to move. You're going to hold on to this unit. You're going to put a tenant in there. You're going to make $500 or $600 a month profit. And you're going to use that to pay the mortgage or help to offset the mortgage on the new home. And that's tough to do anymore. And they used to get so excited about it. And I still have clients to this day that have those properties. They took my advice. They keep them as rentals. And they're all like, thank you. Because if you hadn't given me that guidance, I wouldn't have known. And, now I can't do that because now that you've
there's no chance now. Now you can't, there's no way to qualify house. I mean, my next door neighbor, I asked him just the other day, I said, how long are you here? Since the year 2000. I said, what'd you buy for? He said, 75,000.
Yeah.
So now things are, I'd say 5 times that much, literally 5 times that much.
Agreed.
So how could you possibly do that? And the rent can't even make up the money. There's just no, that is gone.
Mm-hmm.
That's
well, it's interesting too. In our market, it seems like a lot of that has been driven by remote workers, right? And so this is an interesting scenario. We'll see how it plays out. That have come here from New York. They got tired of all the COVID restrictions and all that stuff, but they started to work for companies that said, yeah, okay, you can work from home. So they came down here, they bought properties. And, now some of these companies are starting to call them back to the office. We want you back to the office.
Basically all of it.
Big ones, Apple and even, look at Tesla said, he said, come back. If you want to come back, you're fired. That's it. And he's even saying just 2 or 3 days a week, and they're still putting up a fight about it. But eventually it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And will these people maintain these homes? I think on the other side of that, part of what drove the market, and specifically Jupiter, is that it was a lot of New Yorkers coming down with tons of cash, buying the houses. But I can tell you, like on my street alone around here, they're never there. They came down, they bought the house, they were here for maybe a week or so, and then that's it. We haven't seen them since. And that's 3 or 4 houses. And these are houses, $1 million, 750, 850,000, something like that. So I think maybe they came down and to take advantage of the lack of a state income tax to say, hey, oh yeah, no, I live in this house. Yeah, I bought it. And I live here 6 months and 1 day out of the year. So I'm technically a Florida resident. And now I don't have to pay tax on it. Because why else would you buy $1 million house and never show up? A lot of what I end up with sometimes is the fallout, right? The fallout from they went to Bank of America or to Wells Fargo or someone like that. They went to a Rocket Mortgage or an online lender. And they're like, I never talked to the same person twice. I can't get anybody to call me back. And they're done with it. And so the realtors, will send them over like, look, Kev, this guy's been, dealing with Rocket or dealing with the bank or something like that. The service is horrible. Could you just take over the loan and just get it done? And we do. We absolutely do. And sometimes it's a time pressure thing. But, all that tech stuff is good. It's up to a point, right? But when it's especially with first-time buyers, you need to be able to pick up that phone and talk to your loan officer and ask questions. And whether it's Saturday night at 8 o'clock at night or Sunday at, noon or, Monday night at 9 or 10 o'clock, we're here. We'll answer. Try getting the bank to do that.
No, never happen. And try to get an 800 number and talk to someone. But I'll tell you what every one of us should fear is when they combine the ease and the facilitation of an online, and they could do it at 10:30 at night. In like Zillow, you could press some property, an agent corresponding to a property at 10:30. When they get someone like yourself with the ease and convenience, that's going to be really the final expression.
I want to mention something here before I forget that we're talking about Zillow. This is how long that I've been in business, man. When Zillow was first starting to generate buyer leads, we were one of the. They called us up and they asked us, "Hey, do you want to, pre-quals?" They didn't have a mortgage company or any of that stuff. They were giving us buyer leads for 25 cents a piece, 25 cents, and we worked them.
25
and
yeah.
25 cents. And then all of a sudden it went up to $1. Then it went to $5. Then it went to $7.50. But we got leads from Zillow for 25 cents for about 3 or 4 months. We knew they were just beta testing their, the technology or whatever to see how it works. But yeah, so that's interesting, I think.
I'm saying there's so much information, and one of the things that really make me crazy is when a professional like yourself, and I see this all day, shares this information on Facebook, which means it's 2 inches, it dies at midnight, your competition and your enemies see it, and you're not sending it to anyone. Whereas PlugIntro here, you're going to choose your audience of key referral partners and legitimate customers and contacts. You're going to give them something as a viewer. You're going to give them an opportunity to promote their business, and you're going to be the one and only professional in that entire organization. So I've declared war on Facebook posts because there's 4 reasons every day. Now, if you want to put a sunset or, the soccer game, great. But to put valuable information and share it with no one is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
It's a bad design. Okay, so you and I will commence. We're going to just share this with audience. We're going to have those audience members realize what you're offering and then form groups with you, and we'll let those agents know that they have an opportunity to conduct their own interview series like you do.
I'm looking forward to that. I'm excited about the opportunity as well. So
yeah, I'm glad.
Yes, I am. I think it's a great idea. It's a
We're
great
glad
concept.
we can do it.
Let's get it rolling. Let's do it.